Man, oh man, oh man, the travel space, the black travel space has been on fire for like the past 2 weeks. And I don't know if the fire is going to calm anytime soon. It's just one thing after another. You got dudes fighting, which I already covered in my past video. You got motherfuckers out here, getting police knocking down their door over in Cartagena. You got motherfuckers just struggling to fund their travels in general. You got people out here e-begging to the highest order. You got motherfuckers slashing tires. Like, this is some crazy ass shit. And now you got the whole colorism talk, which has been going on, I'd say maybe for the last 3 or so weeks, something around that. Maybe about a month now. But you've been having the colorism talk going on, the racism talk going on, the white privilege talk going on. And I'm glad that conversation is finally happening. It was inevitable. It was inevitable that it would happen because it's reality. And one thing about the truth is that it always tends to come to light sooner or later. Now, something that is fascinating to me is seeing how many guys are trying to give pushback against that particular rhetoric. You got guys out here like Austin Holloman, who's been just going in lately about this topic. Now, let's be real. The thing about Austin that I don't really like is that guy flip-flops too fucking much. Now, I understand people can change. I understand that, as you're growing up and as you're getting older, it's going to happen. Part of the problem, in my personal opinion, is that, and this has always been my opinion, this ain't a recent thing. I've always said this about Austin since he first started dropping content. As someone who's in the same generation as him, part of the problem is that guys made him too central at such a young age. And that's like, I don't get the sense in that. It was fine to support him. It's fine to subscribe, like his videos, comment, all of that. Nothing wrong with that. Donating even. There's nothing wrong with supporting. I don't care how old he was. That's fine to support him, right? But dudes were making him like the face, like the leader. I mean, he was going on panels back when he was still fresh, and guys were saying, so you're like the leader of the Parthort Bros, or but guys say you're the leader, would you say that's true? And he'd always try and play it off like that's not what it is, but he'd also acknowledge that he's like the main, most popular face associated with it, which is crazy because guys were making travel content way before him. You know what I'm saying? It's just that his shit popped off and took it to another level that eventually led to it hitting the mainstream, right? Now, that's like, fair enough, but I don't know, has that been a good thing? Like, what has really been positive about Parthort Bros going mainstream? Like, outside of, for some content creators who are starting to, try and make a bag off of it, outside of them, who is it benefiting? Like, this is a genuine question I have. Who is Parthort Bros benefiting overall? Because if you're going to say, I can find more guys to travel with, I mean, bro, like, there will always dudes for you to travel with. And I'm talking black men. There's always been black men for you to travel with. Okay, you might have more now. I'll give you that. Personally, if there's a black guy who's about something, I'm going to pick his company before I pick a white dude who's about something. Because I know that white guy's going to have a certain limit to how much he can really relate and understand my perspective, and I don't really have time for that shit. You get what I'm saying? Like, I really ain't interested. It's the same reason why, in terms of my dating preferences, white women are not at the top of that. Like, they're towards the bottom. Not because they're not attractive or I don't like them at all, but because when it comes to me and my experiences and how I look at the world and how I think and the things that concern me, I don't have time for a motherfucker to be standing on my side who doesn't really get the full picture. You get what I'm saying? I don't have time for that. Like, every time I've interacted with other women, even if they're not black, if they're just anything else, like Asian, Indian, anything else, they at least understand this type of shit. Like, I know Indian girls who will be talking about, oh yeah, like how white people look at them this way, that way. Now, my only thing about other races and why I don't really entirely sympathize with them is because they're white worshipping motherfuckers anyway. They tend to look down on us as black people and then get mad when Brad and Becky don't want to be up their ass. Good, because you want to worship Brad and Becky, and then Brad and Becky spits in your face. Good, it's well deserved. One thing I will say about black people, whilst we have got our white worshippers amongst us, I will say black people, we are, out of all the non-white people, we are the most resilient. We are the most determined to stand up for ourselves. That's why all the shit to do with race and everything, we're the ones pushing that. Even in this conversation about colorism and all that, we're the ones who will be pushing those topics. We're the ones who will keep it real on that. That's the reason why right now, I can't stand how many of you niggas want to run around out here and act like it's cap or want to downplay it. And listen, I get it. It's not something guys need to cry about. I get it. It's not something that you need to use to limit yourself. You can go to any of these countries and you can overcome that or even sidestep it and have a good time. Nowhere I've traveled have I had to really so far deal with colorism in such a way where I felt like, oh, I had a bad time. I've personally not experienced that yet, but then I've also not selected to go places where that would likely be a problem, right? So I've not had that experience yet personally, but I'm not going to disregard another black person's experience if they say that happens, because I know the world is white worshipping. I know in most places in the world they're like that. Now, if I've gone somewhere, right, and a guy says, oh, but you know, I went to Asia and you know, they were racist towards me. If I've been to the same place, I'm going to ask him some questions to get the full context. So I'm going to be like, okay, well, where did you go? You know, how was you acting? Who was you with? You know what I'm saying? What area was you in? Like, what was you doing? And I'm not saying this because I think he's necessarily lying or wrong, but there's a chance that he may have misinterpreted the situation because of culture differences, and I might be able to give him some insight on that or whatever. But I'm not going to wholesale just be like, no, that shit don't exist, man. That's just the victim mindset and blah, blah, blah. And this is the thing I don't understand. Even if I can acknowledge that we can all go overseas and get these non-white, you know, these non-white wives that everyone apparently is fascinated with. Yes, I can agree that you can achieve that. And I support that. But I think you can do that while still acknowledging that there may be some challenges. In fact, I would say you need to acknowledge it even more, especially those of you who are pursuing women that ain't black. Because you need to be most cognizant of the fact that the women you're going after, they may have issues on their side of things. They may not have an issue with you personally. They may not give a fuck about your race personally, but you may end up dealing with it in their family, with their friends, with other people just around them. You get what I'm saying? And that might create disruptions in your relationship with her. That's something that you need to be aware of. Why go into the situation with your eyes closed? Like, I don't get this mentality where guys want to like bury their head in the sand, act like shit doesn't matter, and just keep it pushing. Why can't you just walk around with your eyes open and acknowledge, okay, there's a roadblock there, there's a pothole there, but I've got the tools to navigate this shit. The only way you're gonna have the tools to navigate it is if you're aware of the problem. If you're gonna walk around and act like there is no problem, how the fuck can you be prepared for it? It doesn't sound like a very sensible way to live to me. So no, you guys can get mad at the dudes like Austin or whoever else for calling out the reality of shit, but I would say rather than do that, why not say, you know what, yeah, he's got a point, and yeah, you know what, maybe I should consider this, and okay, you know, that's not been my experience, but alright, that's something to keep my eyes out for, and to be, you know, because I know that the world can be racist. I know the world is white worshipping. That's a fact. It's not an opinion, it's a fact. I know that the world overwhelmingly so prefers whiter skin. That's a fact. Okay? But yeah, I found my success. I found people in these countries who fuck with me. You know what I'm saying? And that's how I'm gonna move. Like, go like that. For example, let's look at a country like, I don't know, Austin's talking about Brazil, right? Let's say, and he wasn't even talking about Brazil as a whole. He was talking about Sao Paulo specifically, which for some reason people keep trying to take out of context, right? And let's be honest, I'm going to be honest, I find Austin annoying sometimes. So I'm not trying to stand up for him because I'm like some fan of his, okay? I find him annoying, but facts is facts. Now, in the case of Sao Paulo, look, I ain't been there, so I can't say it's facts from my personal experience. But if he's saying there that he's been there and then that's what his experience is, and he's comparing it to other places, like he was in Rio before, he loves Rio, he's not complaining about colorism. He went to Manaus afterwards, he wasn't complaining about colorism. So he's not complaining about colorism in Brazil everywhere, he was complaining about it in Sao Paulo. But here's how I would look at it. Let's say he goes to Sao Paulo, and let's say you want to go there. Like, I want to go there. I want to go there because I know that's where the highest percentage of Japanese Brazilians are at, right? I know that's where the highest percentage of Japanese people is outside of that place. But, you know, now that I've heard him say that, does that mean I'm not going to go there if I head to Brazil? Fuck no. But I'm definitely now going to be aware, because until he said that, I didn't know that about that specific city. When he was talking about how much billionaires are there, and I didn't know this. Now, could I have Googled some of it? Some of it, yeah. But when he's talking about things like colorism, there's a lot of times people don't want to speak on that shit. And when you look at the reactions of some of the people and some of the pushback Austin's been getting, you can see why sometimes dudes just want to not say nothing, or why guys are always capping. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, if you start speaking the real, guys get mad. And I'm going to be honest, every single person I've seen on this platform who comes with some harsh realities, every single fucking time, you niggas cannot stand their ass. You always want to get up in arms about what they're saying. And don't get me wrong, I've seen people supporting Austin, but the amount of pushback is ridiculous. And I'm going to be honest, like, black people in general love to push back against the shit that actually helps them. You have a serious bad habit of doing that. Like, you love to push back against things that would be beneficial to you long term. You know what I'm saying? This is the reason why you don't need active racism anymore. You don't need a Ku Klux Klan. You don't need Jim Crow. You don't need those things anymore. Why do other races need to overtly try and be racist to you when you guys will do the work for them? You've become your own jailers. You feel me? Why do they need to? They're like, shit. Let the inmates run the asylum. We don't need to be there. Let them do it. They're doing a perfect job. Shit, they're doing a better job, to be honest. So no, like, you know, it's one of these things where I look at what Austin said, I still go there, but I'll just be cognizant of what he said. So just because you can accept reality doesn't mean you have to become a defeatist, or you have to, I can't win in life now. No, that's not how all of us are taking his advice. I don't even know if that's how most people are taking it. I think most people, at least most people would have some damn sense, because some people are just going to be, you know, depressed and doomers about everything. But I think most people are going to look at that and say, okay, yeah, I see where it's coming from. Yeah, that's true. That's been my experience. Or yeah, I've seen that. And I've even seen some guys, and shout out to these guys who say this, they're rare, but shout out to the ones that I've seen in the comment section saying this. I see some guys who are like, hey, look, personally, I ain't really dealt with this in this country or but if that's your experience, I respect that. Shout out to them. That is mature, grown man shit right there. Like, yo, me personally, I didn't have that problem, but I ain't gonna disregard another brother's experience. That's the shit I want to hear. Now, if someone's straight up capping, like straight lying, you know what I'm saying? And you know that they're lying, yeah, call that shit out. But in the case of what Austin's talking about, I don't see why he would be lying. He's not, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's not talking about the whole country. He's being very specific in what he's saying. So I don't know why, you know, why guys are acting like he's just wholesale disregarding a whole country. And every time I see the people countering him, it's usually dudes being like, man, I'm in Brazil and I'm in Rio right now. Nigga, he never said Rio is the problem. Rio is the main thing that got his channel started and the main place he was hyping up. And he's always hyped up Rio. He ain't talking about Rio. And before Austin was saying this, right, DJP, Dennis Jean-Pierre, he was saying the same shit years ago. And he's been all over Brazil. And he was speaking Portuguese. He was saying the same shit. I remember when I watched I think it was his video where he was in Fortaleza, if I'm not mistaken, right? I think that's where it was, right? If it was either Fortaleza or Florianopolis, I always get them confused. But it was in one of them cities. And I remember him talking about how the black Brazilian women there, he said he'd see them and he tried to approach them just like he does the other women, and they're just not giving him any interest. He said this way before Austin was dropping any videos, bro. So it's like, I don't want to hear like, oh, it's just, no. There's other guys reporting similar shit and they've been saying it. Again, it doesn't mean that it will necessarily be your experience, but it's important to understand context. It's important to understand who's saying what, where they're coming from, and what their intention is. And I don't see any ill intent from the guys who are saying this stuff. In fact, I see the complete opposite. They're actually trying to get guys to be alert, to be mindful, and to be honest about things. To move through the world with an honest look. And I don't see anything wrong with that.